Reinvention. What does that mean to you? Is it important? Something you yourself should worry about? Is it something that you feel you would ever need to do? If you're comfortable within yourself, why would you ever need to reinvent, right? Let's say that reinvention was a thing that was needed. Is it something you could ever see yourself doing? Would there be any fears? Is it something that would stop you from doing? I would say reinvention can be a very fearful thing. Right now, I just want to get my thoughts out. It's going to be a lot of pausing, a lot of thinking, just a lot of internal meditation here. But I want to be truthful. I can imagine this video going on and on and on, and it probably will. I like to talk. So let's do this in like more of a podcast format. It's not something you have to look at. It'd be cool if you listen. I just want to get my thoughts. And if you have thoughts upon my thoughts or anything you would like to add on, please do so in the comment section. One thing I want to talk about is my YouTube journey and how it kind of coincides with real life. I've done YouTube since 2011, multiple different channels. And this isn't my first channel, it's actually my second channel. This was actually supposed to be my backup channel. And I started off doing YouTube, I started off doing 2K, NBA 2K 11, I think it was. And I wanted to be entertainment based because all my life I've just always been a bit of a jokester. Just always like to laugh, have fun. I don't think that there was anything deep inside that I was kind of trying to bury. I don't think it was that. I just like to have fun and laugh. Always had jokes, always tell jokes on people, just, always in trouble. That was me. So my first YouTube video being a commentary about Charlie Sheen when he was wilding sounded about up my alley. See, back in those days, we was doing 2K. It had to be a commentary. It had to be a subject matter, something that we talked about. That was my first one. It was a bit of a test run. And from there, I went to get into the game and I became like the 2K rager, right? I used to rage while playing 2K. That was my thing. Somewhere along the lines, my channel got shut down. And I don't even remember the reason why it got shut down, but somewhere along the lines it got shut down. And I had already started working on this channel that we're currently on, and I was doing Madden because even though I was doing 2K, I wasn't a basketball guy. So I was just getting by on entertainment alone. But my heart was football, so I had to transition. I had to reinvent myself. And I'll never forget, there was a day where Duke the Killer, we talking, and he was a Madden guy at the time. We're talking. It's funny. I was a football guy that was doing basketball, and he was a basketball person that was doing football. Kind of weird how that worked. But we talked all the time, and he told me this one time as I was doing Madden, he was like, how are you going to grow this channel? Like, what do you mean? How am I going to grow this channel? I'm going to put out content. He was like, you're a basketball guy trying to do football. I said, I never thought about it that way. I just like football. I gravitate more to what it is that I'm doing. Granted, 2K had the bigger audience, but that's just not where my heart was. So I reinvented myself, got into Madden, and I would say I became top 3 Madden content creator that was out. It was myself, Cullenberg, and Duke the Killer. So whatever order you want to put those 3 in at that time, I was in there, especially in views as well. Him saying that to me, it never left me. How could you be this trying to do this? So in growing the channel and that being stuck in my mind, it was as if I was always trying to prove to myself that he was wrong. It was reinvention. And I didn't think about anyone else except for what it was that I was doing. Streamline into what I was doing. At that time, I had one child. I had Layla. And I didn't really have any worries. I wasn't really, in my self-conscious, it wasn't hitting me that I had to be a certain way image-wise. Never thought about it. So I just continued on doing what I was doing, full steam ahead. And at this time, back in these days, this is when putting out 2 and 3 videos a day was nothing. We used to just grind. Somewhere along the lines, I lost this channel that we're on now. But somewhere along the lines, I lost the channel, I lost steam, I lost motivation. I will say one of the things that started with the loss of motivation was I was working so much, meaning on YouTube, that my daughter didn't want to come see me anymore. Anytime it was time for her to come and spend time with me, and she would be with me for a long time. Those of y'all that remember my earlier YouTube days, I remember that girl was always with me. She didn't want to be. Why? Because daddy's working all the time. He never wants to do anything with me. And that one hit me hard. Because this cigar is like, you know, let me just rip this off. And it ashed, damn it. That hit me hard because I never looked up. I never took the time out to check in, check the temperature of anything, check the temperature of how the people around me felt, check up on my friends. My friends couldn't reach me. They couldn't. I was so locked in. It was hard for people to reach me because I kind of had this one-track mind of if I'm not working, then whatever else it is that I'm doing is just in the way. If they wanted to check in on me, they just had to come through. Like that was my thing. I'm like, yo, don't call, don't let me know. Just come through because I'm just so locked in that if I stop and I'm distracted, I'll stop. And I'm just starting to chit chat and talk about stuff that's not pertaining to the work that I'm putting in. So just come through. If you want to chill, kick it, hang out, come through. Don't call. Because if you call me and tell me you're coming, I'm not going to answer the door. That's how deep into this I was. So that's what would happen. If we wanted to go out, come through, we do that, the whole thing. So I would still go out. My friends, they still checked up on me. We still did that. But like, that's just how I was. Nobody could reach me. So her saying that, it just made me just stop and say, whoa, what's going on? What am I doing? And I'm like, dang, I'm really neglecting everybody around me, everything that's around me. Me going out, it's like almost all of it pertained to work. Like if I'm going on trips, it was about networking. So like I'm going to PAX East, PAX South, PAX West, San Antonio. Even if I went to Miami, I'm recording to try to get content so that I could try to write up everything I would do. it would pertain to work. And I just left everybody by the wayside. But when I heard that, then I'm seeing the crying, I'm like, yo, I gotta pay attention to what's going on. And you guys, well, anybody that was around me for a long time way back then, I saw like a sharp decline came. But there was also a decline that came before that, and that was when my second was born. And it was really big. I damn near stopped. I remember going from 3 videos a day to like maybe 2 or 3 every couple of weeks. Like, it just stopped. And right there, chin just went shh. Right? But when things changed, and things changed in the house, and I got back on the grind, it cleaned right back up. Because all I did was just focus on the work. But what I didn't realize is how much I was changing, how much I was growing up, and how I was separating myself from what I was to what I was becoming. Didn't realize it, but it was happening in real time, because now I'm starting to get mental scars based on what it is that I'm giving to my real life versus what I'm giving to my virtual life. And I started to just ask myself, what was more important? Then eventually it got to a point where I got stagnant, where I'm just doing the same stuff over and over, repetition. And I wasn't thinking about how to grow and evolve. So when things are going downhill and I'm losing everything, I'm like, if I just do more of what it is that I'm already doing, if I just do more of it because I haven't given myself to it like I did, then maybe I can get it back. No strategy, no evolution. No reinvention. There's always new crop coming in. There's always new people. There's always a new fad. There's always a new thing that's coming in. And if you're not evolving with it, you're dying against it. And you don't realize that when you're at the top. You don't realize that you're dying. You don't see what's bubbling. And also what's funny is what's bubbling, they'll come to you. They'll tap into you, see what they could get from you, and then continue to grow their thing. And it's nothing against them. That's the business. But since you don't take a look at what's going on around you, you don't take a look at yourself. It's like being a robot. Which is what YouTube essentially makes you. It makes you a slave to creating the content, and you give your life to creating the content. When you start to realize that, then you have to start to ask yourself, how do we make a common balance here? And that's when I started to say, you know what, I'm going to make content for the viewer. Again, still losing myself, not knowing who I am. I've gotten away all this time that I put in to making content. I never really took the time out to get to know who I was and who I was becoming. And it's kind of hard to give yourself to the content when you don't know what's going on between here. You don't know. You're just a machine that people could turn on and off. Do you matter to them? When your video's over, they go to the next one. And if that next one isn't you, it's just the next person. So who are you living for? Are you living for the person that's watching you that can just click right to the next person when they don't like what it is that you're saying 3 minutes into the video? Or are you living for the person that says, Daddy's always working. He don't got time to do anything with me? You don't want that person to click over to the next video because that hurts. Reinvention. When people have a perception of you, You try to remain within that perception. Even though mentally you are changing, you try to hide that from the rest of the world. It's kind of weird because it's like, I want to be me, but I'm afraid of how other people may perceive me. And therefore, I could never give my all. I could never be myself. And again, if we bring it back to content, I always felt lost in doing content. Here's something you guys don't know. The era of me doing live streams from about 2018 to about 2020, 2021, it was a lot of fun. But you guys don't know what I had to do to get myself up to do that. You guys don't know that when I would do those drinking streams, it wasn't for fun. It was because my mind is somewhere else, and I felt like I had to drink to get myself into a certain mood to perform. I wasn't myself. I wasn't being myself. I didn't know who I was. But I also was afraid to evolve because I was afraid of how the people that were around me would perceive me, since they perceived me a certain way. I couldn't be me. I didn't know who I was. Reinvention should know no fears. I didn't even like to let people in my life know that I like cigars. Something that I started having, I want to say about 2020. Got into the small hobby of cigars. Like I may have one once a month. May have one once in a while, nothing too often. Have a drink. But you know what that perception becomes? Becomes, oh, he's an alcoholic, or oh, he's a smoker, or something. When you start thinking of these isms that people put on to you, it stops you in your tracks and just instead of saying, bro, that's just what the fuck I like to do. You take it as you take it. But I have to live my life and how I see it. You got your opinion on it? Care. Should you care? Let me tell you what caring what the next person does for you. It stops you right in your tracks. It makes you rethink your thoughts and what it is that you want to do. And when you're rethinking yourself, you're putting time and effort into something that's taken away from something that you could be progressing with. You stop. Why? Because something that someone else thought of you has changed. What does that matter? This year, I started to travel. Some would say that I was afraid to leave the plantation. Some would say that I was afraid of seeing what was out there. But what I will say that it actually did do, it opened my eyes a lot. And it motivated me. But you know what the part about it that I would fear? I would fear other people saying, why is he traveling? He has other things that he needs to do. He has other responsibilities. He got this that he needs to take care of. This, da, 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 da. And for a big portion of my older years, I let that stop. So let me tell you something that traveling has done for me. When I say traveling, I'm talking about out of the country. When it comes to in America, I've been all over this country. I could name at least 20 states that I could probably name about 30 of the states that I've been to here in the country. So I've been here. I've never left the country, but just being outside of the country, it's just a whole different experience. It's eye-opening. And what it does is it makes you realize just how small of a pebble you are. Because when you're here in America, you're just thinking about how used you are to everything. Like, let's say you go to a different city or a different state, right? And they move different over there. The environment is different. The people are different. Since you know how to speak the language, you can still figure things out. But going somewhere else and you don't know the language, you're by yourself, the culture's different, everything is different, how people move are different, how people think are different, people's traumas are different, and you can't relate to any of it. It puts you into a different mindset. And it kind of forces you to say, man, I wanted everything that America can give me. But when you go outside of America, now you have to think, I want everything that the world can give me. And that right there is called thinking bigger. Asking yourself bigger questions. Wondering what your biggest problem is and saying, can it be bigger? Am I thinking big enough? Is my problem as big as it's not? Because you haven't done anything. Think you have here. But when you think of how small America is to the rest of the world, then you realize how small you've been thinking. Can you conquer the world with an American mindset without reinventing yourself? In order for you to be able to move outside of the country, you have to reinvent yourself. Because the rest of the world doesn't conform to American norms. The rest of the world is bigger than just where you are. And they do their own thing. And when you come back, you realize there's so much more that I need to do. So then what's your motivation? I will say that one of my motivations is because I want to be able to see more. I want to see more. I want to experience more. I want to grow more. Here within my city and in my state, I've completely outgrown it. And when you outgrow something and you stay within it, it's kind of like, let me show you. It's kind of like this plant. When I first got this plant, it was about a third of this size. It was a third of this size. And you guys can't, it's green in the green screen, so you guys can't see how big it actually is. But it was a third of this size. If I put it in front of me, well, that doesn't matter. It was about a third of this size. It's outgrown this pot by a lot. And eventually it'll stop growing and it'll start to die. Wow, look at the roots in the bottom. Eventually it'll stop growing and die out because I didn't put it into a bigger pot. Plants in human life are no different than you. When you outgrow that pot, you gotta be put into a bigger pot so that you can grow more. You have to reinvent your environment. So now, to that I want to ask, what are some things you feel might be stopping you? Stopping you from growing? Have you felt stagnant and didn't know why? I felt that way for a really, really long time. Couldn't figure out why until I finally left. And this isn't anything to encourage you about leaving the country and traveling or anything like that. It's just about asking yourself that question. Do you feel stagnant? Have you asked yourself why? Do you know who you are? Have you taken out the time to get to know who you are? Have you ever meditated? Do you feel that you are enough for whatever it is that your goals are? And the last question that goes along with it is, are you afraid to reinvent yourself?